So last video I was talking about how we don't talk about death enough, and the process behind that and my thoughts about that. But further to that, so today I went to look at a commercial property looking to purchase, and I think I touched on it on a previous video, but the purchase to buy this commercial property, the reason it's for sale is because the previous owner is no longer with us, and the wife is now offloading the assets. And man, some really interesting thoughts. One I think I touched on previously is that, once we all end, someone else drives your car, lives in your house, could wear your shoes and clothes for all you know. And no different to this situation where potentially I could be purchasing this building and the gentleman that's no longer here, I could be working in his building that he owned. Pretty weird feeling when you think about it. And then speaking to the lady who I know of, but I don't know. I've never met her before, but I know of their business and what they do, and after the real estate agent, who wasn't very helpful with his communication with the process. Anyway, that's another story. But I asked to speak with the owner, and she was willing to talk. But I didn't want to talk about the shop. I just wanted to talk to her. And when I asked, some really simple day-to-day questions, how's things, sorry about your loss, and started talking to her, she opened up pretty quickly. You could really tell she was heavily grieving a lot. So I didn't want to talk anything about the building or the business. I just wanted to touch on her and how are you going? And she opened up pretty quickly. You could tell she was heavily grieving. This happened a few months ago, so this was her life. And one thing she touched on that I thought was interesting and could be a discussion point for today is she said that closing the business was one of the best things ever. And she was excited, not about what had happened, but excited that she didn't have to open the doors to that business anymore. Man. And it wasn't that she hated the business, it's just that she hated what the business did. And what the business did was took her time away from her husband. She said that the kids really grew up without a dad because he was always at work. And he worked so much, then he'd put his whole life into the business to get the business to a level to get to the kids. He never got to see it through to the end. And it sounded like they'd been working towards doing all of this to get their life to a stage where they could enjoy life, but they just never got there. God, it's interesting, Life is so interesting that his view on happiness and his desire for his life was to grow the business in his mind to a stage where he could enjoy it with his wife and his kids could take over, which they may not have wanted to, which seems to be the case now because they don't want to be there. But his wife's version of happiness, which it sounds like she never got to discuss or implement because he was so focused on creating his version of their life, her version was that she wanted him around with the kids more. But to do that, he would have had to sacrifice the business, which is his happiness and his outlet. Man, really, really interesting. And I think you could go really deep on this. But I don't know, it's just, I think it's important that you have those conversations with your partner, with your wife, about What makes her happy? What does she want to do? For me, my hobby is business. My hobby is growing businesses. That's what I enjoy. I enjoy the process. I don't want to play golf. I don't want to go to the pub and drink. I don't drink, so I don't want to do the things that other people do because it doesn't interest me. What interests me is growing businesses, growing community, growing my team, seeing my team excel and hit their milestones and their goals. That's what excites me. And then my home life, I love spending time with my wife, my kids. I spend bulk time, bulk hours. But it's important that you have those conversations with your partner to make sure that you align. Because you may be working towards a common goal for 10 years, 20 years time, and you may not make it, which is the case here. And the pure relief that I've seen in this lady's face that she didn't have to turn the computer on anymore. She didn't have to answer emails, phones. She didn't want to deal with any of it. She actually hasn't wanted to do it forever. But she was just doing it to support her husband in his goal, to fast track it, to get him to a position where he didn't have to do that anymore. Man. Life is pretty crazy. Pretty deep. So whether that relates to you or you get something out of it, I don't know. Did I get something out of it? Maybe. I'll go home tonight and talk to my wife and make sure that we're aligned with our goals and the dream life that we want to have and create. That's probably the biggest thing I got out of it. And making sure that the things I'm doing everyone's happy with. I'm happy with it, but are my kids happy with it? Is my wife happy with it? Making sure that everyone's happy with the situation. So I'd hate to be in a situation where the things I'm doing don't align with their happiness as well. Interesting, man. Life is crazy, eh?